comes a point where you are tired of the disrespect. You are tired of getting dirt kicked in your face, all while trying to make ends meet. It's bad enough that the wages are not livable, that the average cost of a home is so out of control. What makes it even worse are these toxic work conditions, these toxic workplaces, and not just toxicity from customers. A lot of the time, most of the time from my experience, toxicity from fellow employees and managers with the favoritism stuff, all different kinds of games and drama for no reason to make it so much harder for people to not look forward to go to work. A lot of people have already given up on that. They quite frankly don't want anything to do with corporate America. And for good reason. Now, before I had returned to university in my 20s, I was working a variety of different retail jobs. I had worked in the deli in a grocery store, and also worked in a produce department. And with that, I had come across so much disrespect. For example, one of my first few weeks there, keep in mind I was just learning the job, but you had to weigh the items on a scale, right, to set the price. And there's this one guy, he comes like, I want half a pound of this, some tomato salad or something like that. And I'm doing it, and I'm not really getting it right? I'm not really measuring it right. I'm having to take some out, put some back in. He literally walks away and just flips me off. I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. Another time, again, the same job, as I was newer to it, the assistant manager really had an attitude. And I'll use your real name. What does it matter now? It was many years ago. Her name was Tina. And Tina would be very disrespectful to people who were just learning the job. But keep this in mind. The job had a very high turnover rate, which if it has a very high turnover rate, it's not just the job. It's probably because they don't know what the heck they're doing in terms of managing it. Anyway, when she was showing me how to do stuff and I was trying to kind of figure it out, she would like roll her eyes at me and just give horrible attitude. And it got so bad where I decided to say something to her at the end, towards the end of the shift. Because again, I'm going to advocate for myself. I'm not going to sit there and let someone kick dirt in my face and disrespect me. This is more than just a job. This is about my peace of mind. So I had said something to her and just essentially told her, look, if you want to tell me what to do and how to do it properly, that's fine. But you don't need to roll your eyes at me. And to no surprise, she took it in a weird way. She acted all okay at first. I think she was surprised to be called out in the first place. And she was the assistant manager of the department. But I believe she had said something to the manager. And the manager started trying to get me kicked out of the deli. So there's a big kind of disagreement back and forth. And eventually they moved me to produce, which was, again, in disarray. Again, not a good working condition, toxic coworkers and all different kinds of stuff. But I just am in such disbelief of the amount of games people are playing. And look, I understand. It's a competitive world. I get that. Things like job applications, college entry. But if you are competing, show what you bring to the table. You shouldn't have to backstab and sabotage other people to get there. And that is really what I came across from my experience in retail, whatever you want to call it, retail America, as an employee. So after those kind of jobs, I actually didn't even really want to work. What I ended up doing while I was in college on the side of, instead of working a retail job with more customer service and having a manager overhead, I decided to just DoorDash on the side. It was something I could do on my own time, and it was something where I didn't have to deal with all the extra drama. And quite frankly, it wasn't very bad money. It was actually better, which you got to kind of average out the price of gas and stuff, but it was a lot better than where I was working before. And again, with the scheduling stuff, another thing I ran across too, working at a deli in a different grocery store, was they had me working 3 p.m. to 11:30 at night. And what I had told them for many, many weeks was, can I please work the mornings? I want to have the day to myself. Which again, some people might love that schedule where they can stay up late, but I didn't like the feeling of getting out at 11:30 and just essentially going and having to get ready for bed. I much rather would have been working at 6, 7 in the morning and been able to have the day free after work. But they acted like they were going to do it. They're like, oh yeah, we'll change it up. And many weeks went by and they didn't change it. So I just straight up just quit on the spot. What else was I supposed to do? They were not accommodating for me. I gave them a lot of time, heck of a lot more time they needed, and they weren't willing to do it. So that was that. And again, part of why I like the DoorDash as an alternative. But when it comes to other people, you see a lot of other people right now who just don't want to work. They are trying to do all different kinds of things, side hustles, things outside of work, where they don't have to deal with all the drama. They don't have to deal with all the nonsense. Now, when it comes to the customers, I've come across a lot of customers who are very impatient. They don't see that you're trying to do your job. You don't have time to answer 100 different questions. And even disrespect, as I mentioned, the guy flipped me off in the beginning. But I know someone who actually worked at a smoothie shop when he was younger. And there was some guy who walked in basically right when they were closing and was like, hey, can I use the restroom? He said, no, I'm sorry, the restrooms are closed. We close them at this time, an hour before closing. And the guy started just mouthing off about how he has more money than him and flashing his credit card. And I'm like, dude, these people are pathetic that do that kind of stuff. One thing I want to make a point here too in this video is the lack of humility to look at someone who is in a job that's entry level or retail and think you're better than them just because you have money in the bank is so pathetic. Once your time on this earth ends, none of that is going with you. That doesn't make you a better person. All this weird flexing and flaunting, which again, I'm aware that's been around forever, even since medieval times with kings and stuff, flaunting their wealth and all that. I'm aware that's not a new thing. But to want to boast and show off to people who are just trying to get by and make an honest living, maybe they're even someone who is just entering the workforce. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in working. The disrespect just makes it so much more ridiculous. These people don't understand that without retail workers, without a workforce, without someone to run those jobs, there would be nothing happening. A lot of people, I think, are afraid to advocate for themselves. And even again, with myself, having brought up that I didn't appreciate getting the attitude and having her roll her eyes at me. More people need to start doing that. More people need to start advocating for themselves, because these toxic work environments just make it where quitting would just be for your own well-being at that point. It wouldn't even be about the money and stuff. It would just be about, you know what? I don't want to come home and feel worse and worse when it's already bad enough that the wages that we're getting paid in these kind of jobs are not livable. Which again, I'll touch on this too, because I know plenty of people who got STEM degrees and work in from big companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Boeing, and even they are roommating. Even they are having a hard time getting by right now. So imagine how hard it is for someone in retail, for someone who is working in the grocery store, working in the department store. Imagine how hard that is right now. Guys, it's going to have to come to a point where this is more of an empathy thing, I suppose, with the respect and the toxicity, but there certainly is a decline in empathy. And again, a common response I get when making content like this is, oh, well, that's always been a thing. Yes, I'm aware it's always been a thing, but not to the extent it is now. Narcissism, that's, of course it's always been a thing. But the fact that it's so rampant means that there is a real issue. And people are getting tired of it, guys. People are getting tired of the disrespect, tired of the lack of empathy, and tired of trying to make an honest living with all this extra nonsense. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for viewing the video. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.